Hey guys, I just want to continue our message from Sunday. We're talking about knowing the seasons. And we understand that life comes in seasons. We got winter, spring, summer, and fall. And oftentimes what we look at is each season representing a different experience of life or different time in life that we're going through, where like wintertime is that cold time where things come to a screeching halt, where it doesn't seem like anybody comes around. Everybody's kind of hidden in their house, sitting around the fire and staying in where it's warm and everything like that. And so sometimes in the wintertime of life we feel alone. It feels cold. It feels like we're not hearing from God. It feels like our friends have kind of left us or they've abandoned us. It could be just in this dark season, whatever that may be. But then spring comes, and just as you think everything's starting to die or end or be finished or fall through, some new form of life shoots up. A baby is born, or a job is received, or an opportunity comes, an invitation is made, a new friend is made, and something begins to happen. A birthing takes place, a health, a strength, a hope. It comes alive. And then summertime, when things begin to bear fruit and your life is beginning to work and you're feeling good, and you're going out on adventures and really enjoying all that life has to offer. And then all of a sudden that comes to an end. That season comes to an end, and we go into fall, where things begin to drop, where the leaves begin to die and fall to the ground. And that's where dreams sometimes come to an end, or projects, or relationships, or involvement, or churches and ministries, and things come to an end. Good seasons of life. You were on the football team and now you're no longer on the team. It's over. High school's over. College is over. That season at work or that season of ministry is over. And it seems kind of dark. And so we divided up those two seasons into two main groups. The fall and winter, which is where that dark season begins and gets into that cold time and even winter storms. And then the spring and summer, where things are alive and popping and working and moving forward. And we concluded our message on Sunday talking about how to transition out of darkness and into light. And we made some different points. And if you want to hear about transitioning out of darkness, I strongly encourage you to get those points by listening to the podcast that's online. I believe that there are a couple of points that we didn't get to cover on that transition piece, so I wanted to go over them right now because they were a couple of really good points. And one of the things that I didn't get a chance to talk about in that message is that we have to be careful that when we're in dark seasons, when life isn't working, or when things have come to an end, or we've experienced a tragedy, or we're mourning the loss of something, we go into that dark season. We have to be careful that we don't get boundaries and vows confused. You see, when you're in that dark season, it's good to set boundaries because you learn some things. Maybe somebody hurt you or abused you or took advantage of you or neglected you or abandoned you and betrayed you or whatever the case may be. It's very important for you to set a boundary. But oftentimes people are tempted and they fall into this trap of making a vow. And when you're in a dark place and you make a vow, it could stick with you for a long time and cut off the source of a life-giving blessing from God by making a vow that you were never intended to make. That vow could consist of saying things like this: I will never trust a man again. I will never get married again. I will never step foot in another church. I will never, ever spend money again. I will never work for a man like that. I will never, ever step foot into their house again. We make these vows. They're reactionary. They are intense. They are meant to actually protect us, but in a sense, they can actually hurt you. And the reason being is that when you say a vow because of maybe some hurt feelings or maybe some real tragic wounds, what happens is that you've made a decision in the dark. You made a commitment in the dark to live life in a limited, restrictive way. And let me give you an example of how this works and why it's so dangerous. Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night and then all of a sudden you get the 3 a.m. you're so bad, you blew it, you screwed that up, you said this, you shouldn't have said that, you hurt their feelings, they're mad at you, they're never going to talk to you again, it's over, you've spoken one too many times the wrong thing, it's over, the relationship's finished, and you just get haunted and pounded and all that kind of stuff. Well, what happens is that by morning you're so traumatized because you've rehearsed all this negative visualization of what's going to happen in the future, and you just feel bombarded with all of these words of condemnation and destruction. It's horrible. And but you know what? If you notice that when you wake up in the morning and you have a cup of coffee, or you say your morning prayers, you read the Bible a little bit, talk to your spouse, and you look out at the sun, you look out at the trees, and you watch the kids walk off to school and all that kind of stuff, all of a sudden, once the light comes out, you can see more clearly, and it's not quite as bad, and you can figure out a way out. But when you're in the dark, you can't see with the right eyes. You don't have the same defenses at night that you do during the day. And so what you see in the dark sometimes creates fear, which causes a reaction. When you see in the light, you can more soberly see which direction to take and how to fix things that are broken, how to repair things that are not working. So if you make major commitments in the dark, you're making them with the wrong information. You're making them with fear and negative visualization. And what Jesus taught us to do is to walk in the light and listen to the voice of our Father. You see, in the dark, oftentimes that negative voice overshadows the voice of reason, the voice of life, the voice of your Father. And so I want to encourage you not to make vows when you're in the dark. Don't make commitments of what you're not going to do or what you'll never do or that type of thing. Don't say that you're going to do this or that when you're in the dark, because that will get you in trouble. Okay? So, but do set boundaries. Do realize that there are some people that you can't trust until they've earned your trust back. You may forgive them, but you can't trust them. Okay? Set a boundary. Maybe people have expectations on you. Maybe they're requiring too much of you. Maybe they're demanding too much of you. Maybe there's some codependent behavior on there. Set a boundary, but don't make a vow of what you're going to do when you're in the dark. Okay? Then here's another one. Realize that there's always somebody in a worse situation than you. And if you can remember that, all you have to do is visualize somebody having something way worse than you. Double what you're going through right now and realize somebody has gone through worse than you, doubly worse than you, and they've gotten through it somewhere, someplace. And if you really want proof of that, just tell me what you're going through. I'll show you somebody that's got it worse. And then what you can do is say, if they can get through this, I can get through it. Okay? And that's how you transition out of the dark. Now, to get the rest of the points, you've got to go listen to the other message. Okay? But now, let's say you're in the light. Let's talk about that a little bit. Moving into the light. The first thing that you have to remember is you can't forget. Once you get into the flow, once things are beginning to work and the light comes out, the sun comes out, you're in that spring or summer season and things are working and you're loving it. You got to make sure that you never forget how you got there. Who helped you? How has the Lord come through for you? And you can't forget that. Now let me give you a scripture on that. Deuteronomy 8:10. Let me read this to you. When you have eaten your fill, be sure to praise the Lord your God for the good land that He has given you. But that is the time to be careful. Beware that in your plenty you do not forget the Lord your God and disobey His commands, regulations, and decrees that I'm giving you today. For when you have become full and you prosper, and you have built fine homes to live in, and when your flocks and herds have become very large and your silver and gold have multiplied along with everything else, be careful. Do not become proud at that time and forget the Lord your God, who rescued you from slavery, from the land of Egypt. Do not forget that He led you through the great terrifying wilderness with its poisonous snakes and scorpions, where it has been so hot and dry. He gave you water from the rock. He fed you with manna in the wilderness, a food unknown to your ancestors. He did this to humble you and test you for your own good. He did this so that you will never say to yourself, I've achieved this wealth. I've achieved this blessing on my own strength and energy. Remember the Lord your God. He is the one who gives you the power to be successful in order to fulfill the covenant that He confirmed to your ancestors with an oath. Are you hearing what's being put down there? Okay? When things are going good, don't forget. Don't forget the Lord that got you there. When, sometimes when we get prosperous and things are starting to work and the money's there, the wife is there, the kids are doing good, friends are doing good, church is going good, ministry's going good, life is good, all's working, the business is working, the lawn's being mowed, fresh grass out there, you got the clothes you want, you got the car you want, you got the things are flowing, you're in the groove, okay? But don't forget the Lord thy God that gave you the power to get there. Now, He's not the one who put you there, you're the one who got there, but He gave you the power to get there. He gave you the ideas, He gave you the wisdom, He gave you the opportunities, the invitations. You took them, you acted on them. Yeah, you did it, you and Him together. But without Him, you wouldn't have got there. Okay? So you got to remember Him. Now, why does He bless us? Well, the scripture says that Israel was blessed to be a blessing. And same thing with you. You are blessed to be a blessing. I am blessed to be a blessing. So when we're in the flow, when we're in the blessing, the thing that we got to remember is, one, how did we get there? Who helped us? God, our friends, our spouse, our kids, our neighbor, whoever it was. You got to show honor to where honor is due. Recognize it, give kudos, say thank you, show appreciation, do the thank you card thing, do the shout out thing, remind them, look them in the eyes and say thank you. You get up early and say your prayers, you give your tithes, you do all that stuff, okay? Why is that? Because you don't ever want to forget where you've come from. Don't ever forget that. Nothing more arrogant than somebody that just thinks that God's there to pour out a blessing so that they can just sit there on their fat rear and enjoy a blessing. That's whack. All right. Sorry about that. So, don't forget. The second thing is, when you're in the flow, here's the other thing to remember. This is a transformative thought. You're blessed to be a blessing, not to be arrogant or too good for other people. You got to remember when you're in the flow, not to stick it in the face of other people and say what a great God you have and what a great blessing you're getting to enjoy. People do this on Facebook all the freaking time. Bugs me. Okay? They'll sit there and pour out all this abundance they got, and they don't realize half their friends are going through dark seasons and stuff like that. You got to be moderate with that kind of stuff, man. You can't just rub life in people's face. Okay? Inspire people, yes. Okay? Tell them your issues. Tell them your stuff. If you're going to be real, if you're going to do Facebook, man, make it real. Don't always just stick the good life that you got going on there. Okay? I mean, we want to honor God. We want to appreciate. We want to show pictures of our Hawaii trip or whatever we're doing. Yeah, that's fine. But when you're constantly rubbing how many friends you got and how many cool things you get to do and all that kind of stuff, but you never share any of the struggles you have or not, whatever, you can come across kind of arrogant. And when you say that God has blessed you and you show all these cool things you have, and you're like, there's people out there that are way more holier than you, way more God-fearing, way more God-honoring, and way more generous than you, that have never experienced some of those blessings that you got, that have never had any of those things. So you got to be careful how you toot your stuff, okay? So, you're blessed to be a blessing, not to be arrogant or too good for other people. Some people will only hang out with people that got it going on. They'll hang out with the people that contribute something to them, or that can roll with them in the restaurants that they like to go to and eat at and all that kind of stuff. But they won't ever reach out to somebody else that's struggling or in between jobs or going through stuff or can't quite make it socially or any of that kind of stuff. Guys, as Christians, we reach out to those. They're struggling. Things that aren't making it with life. And we help them out. Yeah, we can hang out with our strong friends. Yes, we can hang out with our blessed friends. And we can go party up a storm and do our thing, okay? But when it comes to real Christian living, you got to remember all the time that there's people around you that ain't in the flow, and you got to help them out, okay? Third thing, tithe everything that comes in. Tithe, man. 1/10. 1/10 of income, 1/10 of your wisdom, 1/10 of your friendships, 1/10 of all that you do and have, okay? This is a way we honor God, and this keeps us from getting greedy, is by tithing. Yes, tithing usually is thought of as money or goods that come into you. Like if you're a farmer, you tithe 1/10 of your property. If you have income, Christians always live on 90% of their income and give 10% away. That's just the way Christians do it, okay? If you're not a Christian, I get it that you don't tithe. But if you're a Christian, this is what we do. This is who we are, okay? But don't just limit it to the money. Start there. And then also tithe on your relationships. Okay, you got good friends. Invite somebody that doesn't have a friend out with a group of your friends. Tithe off of your friendships. Tithe off of the blessings that you get. Okay? Some of you guys, you have these beautiful homes and you never invite anybody in. You don't throw a party for anybody. Throw a party for somebody turning 30 or somebody turning 50 or 60 that never gets a party. Tithe off of your home, your stuff, your things that you have, okay? Your social capital, your friendships, and invite a bunch of people over. Throw a party for somebody that never's had a birthday party. Why not? You tithe off of your abundance, what comes into you. Some of you have been learning things from books and seminars and tapes and things from work and stuff. Take some of that information and tithe off of it. Run a small group, a life group, whatever. Tithe off of that. Tithe off of your time. Tithe off of your talent. If you're doing art, tithe a piece of that to an auction. Give a piece of it away. When you're in the flow, when you're in the light, when things are going, you tithe off of what's coming in and make sure that you share it with others, okay? We have the concept of the tithe so that we don't become greedy, so that it doesn't come just to us. It flows through us. It's like your hands can either be like cupped like this, or they can be open like that, where the blessings flow through, or they can just flow to. If they float to you, they won't make it to anyone else. But my motto is, if it can flow to me, it'll flow through me to others. I'm going to be a blessing to others because I've been blessed. Okay? Now, number 4, make sure that you mentor other people. Take the time to pour into a young person. Okay, for you, a young person might be somebody that's 60 years old, or it might be somebody 50 or 40 or 30 or 20 or 15 or 10. Get to somebody that is young in the Lord or younger in age, and you begin to mentor them. Mentor them with what you know, what you're good at, what you're strong at. Go to coffee with them, have them over to your home. When things are flowing, that's the time to pour out, man. Start your life group, start your Bible study, start your activity group, start your socialization with people that don't have friends and all that, and you invite people over, but mentor people. speak into their lives, read materials on mentoring, and begin to pour into a young man or young woman's life. Mentoring not only will bless them, but it'll bless you. You know the Boys and Girls Club, or not the Boys and Girls Club, but the Big Brothers of South King County? They have a 3-year waiting list for young boys that are looking for a male mentor. 3 years. Okay? What is wrong? We got all these kids just wanting to be mentored, and 3-year wait. And we got all these guys sitting around watching sports and kicking it up with their friends and spending time in their man caves and doing all this kind of stuff, which is cool. You know, all that stuff's cool. If you don't got time to mentor somebody, man, what are you doing? I don't get it. Take some time for somebody. Pour into them. When you're in the flow, pour out. Mentor. Build into somebody. Somebody did that to me. That's why I'm in the ministry. Somebody mentored me. They poured into my life. They were older than me. They were 10 years older than me. And they took the time to sit down with me and talk with me and pray with me and show me scriptures and take me on events and adventures and invite me to seminars and took me to concerts and did all this kind of stuff, invited me to serve in ministry, and I followed them wherever they went. And they mentored me. Now I'm doing that for others. Are you doing it for somebody? Okay? Fifth one. Always, if you're in the flow, things are going, things are working, do your random acts of Spirit-led kindness. Random acts of Spirit-led kindness. And allow your spirit to just say, okay, I've got money now. I've got time now. How am I going to flow out to others? And you just listen. You wake up at 3 in the morning, get up and listen. Take a piece of paper. You know, when you just kind of wake up out of nowhere and you start hearing it starts hitting you, you know, and just like, I can't sleep and all that. Get up. Write it down. It's God trying to talk to you. Write down what He's telling you. And I'm telling you, He'll tell you to give to people. And when He does, as you give to people, then you're going to find that random act of kindness and gifts and all that kind of stuff is going to come back to bless you. Okay? So when you're in the light, you owe it to others to give back. Then, the sixth thing, share your story. Always share your story. Share your story of how you were in the dark and now you're in the light. Okay? How you went from being a guy that's kind of lost or searching for God, and how you were going through this and then you found God, how He liberated you and how you got born again or enlightened, whatever you want to call it. Okay? You got this experience that took place. You want to share that story. Share the story how you overcame stuff. Share the story how you got through that tragedy or that dark season. Okay? And when they see that you're in the light, but that you at one time had a bad experience or a dark experience, but you got through it, you broke through it, tell that story. It gives people encouragement. And so when you're in the light, you got to remember where you came from, what it was like to be in the dark, and give the stories that lift people out and give them hope. Okay? And then, the last thing. A transforming thought on both seasons. Okay? It's all about relationships. Whether you're in the dark or you're in the light. Okay, I know that sounds kind of cheeseball. Dark and light. Okay, I'm in the dark season. I'm in the light season. You know, guys, this is what it is. Okay? I think it's general, but you get what I'm talking about. Okay? There's times when you're up and there's times when you're down. And sometimes you're down for a long time. Okay? Because of consistent tragedies or dark experiences and betrayals and things like that. This is part of life. It's just what it is. But when you're in either the dark or the light season, remember, it's all about relationships. It's relationships that you need when you're in the dark, and it's relationships that make being in the light fun. If you're blessed and you're prospering, and you're enjoying the good that the land has to offer, and things are working, and you're rocking life, it's boring when you're by yourself. Get good relationships. If you're in a dark time and you didn't make any friends while you're in the light, I'm telling you, you're going to be lonely in the dark because you didn't cultivate any friendships. Everything's about relationships, and the cool thing about relationships is relationships work whether you're in the dark or the light. Relationships can transcend both. Okay? Make sure that your friendship to others carries them through their dark season and into their light. If you're partying with somebody in the light, you better be prepared to be with them in the dark. Okay? Don't just be a fair weather friend. Then the second thing that is kind of in both is it's all about prayerful alignment. Okay? You see, when we're in the dark or we're in the light, we constantly have to get before the Lord every single morning, every single night, and align ourselves with the will and the Spirit of God. Because it's the will and the Spirit of God that will keep you in your flow. Okay? You see, I believe you can be in a good flow even in the midst of tragedy. You can have peace in the midst of a storm. Okay? And you can be in the middle of a blessing, and you can totally forget where you came from, and you can totally get off the rhythm of God. You can become arrogant, you can be greedy, and you can be self-centered, and you can be self-contained, and you can be selfish, and all those kinds of things when you're in the blessing of God. And so prayerful alignment will help you stay in the right spirit with the Holy Spirit. Okay? And so it's all about relationships, and it's all about prayerful alignment. You got to get yourself grooved in there every single morning. And if your relationships are struggling, pray about it. Okay? If you don't have any, pray and ask God to open your eyes to find the right ones. Okay? I think I'm going to wrap it up here. But let me close with this one thought. Some of you, when you pray and you talk to God to take you out of a dark season, or to bless you with more abundance, whatever the case may be, I think sometimes we think that the idea is to go to God, ask Him for what we want, and then He goes to work and does it. And what I would like to encourage you in both the light and dark seasons is to look for prayer alignment, where you align your will with God's will. When you align your intentions with God's intentions, instead of giving Him a list of what He's going to do for you, maybe what you should do is align your spirit, your will and your desires and your passions with His. And you may find that you will do something that doesn't necessarily serve you well in the immediate, but it does align with God's Spirit and His will. And when you do that, eventually you'll see it will serve you well. So, it's all about relationships, and it's all about aligning ourselves in prayer. Get to work on it. We'll see you on Sunday. We got a great message for you on Sunday. And then we're going to start a new series called Stuff Jesus Saves. Okay? I'll be telling you more about that this week. Come and hear about it. Thank you for watching this video. And I hope that if you didn't get the message before, that you'll go back to the podcast and listen to it, because I think it's going to rock your world. God bless you, and have a great week.